Hey, what's good? It's Andrew from travelingguitarist.com. Today I'm talking to you guys about lead guitar and kind of what are the primary characteristics of lead guitarists and, what kind of makes them different from rhythm guitarists. So I've already done a video and an article about the differences between the two, but in this one I'm going to kind of explore what makes a lead guitar player. Just more, specific characteristics of what makes that kind of player fit into that style. But anyway... And I wrote a really good description of what a lead guitar player is down here at the bottom of my article. The fundamental purpose of the lead guitar player is to kind of either establish the melody of a piece of music or kind of like stylize a pre-existing melody, to fill it out more, to make it more interesting, to make it more, just make it more fun and cool, Like that's kind of what a lead guitarist does. And another way of explaining it is that, you have your rhythm guitarist, right? And a common way of illustrating the difference between the two players is that you would say, for example, the rhythm guitarist plays the chords and then the lead guitarist plays like the overarching melody, the single note passages above those chords. Taking it one step further than that, I would say that what makes a lead guitar player is that you're kind of like, the lead guitarist is kind of like playing in the musical context that's created by the rhythm guitarist. So while the two players can be fundamentally doing the same thing, the rhythm guitarists, they're part of like the backbone of the band, I would say. Like, of course, all the band members are equally important, but the rhythm guitarists, they're kind of playing more of like the structural foundation of the song, like the backbone of the song. They're setting up the musical context in which the lead guitarist is kind of like adding more context and adding more style, as I already said before. And that's kind of what a lead guitarist does. So in my article, I touched on a lot of the things that lead guitarists do, kind of like guitar solos. That's kind of like the main thing. Like that's how you distinguish between a lead and a rhythm guitarist usually, especially in like metal and rock and bands like that. Like the person who's playing the guitar solos, that's pretty much always the lead player. Obviously, there's exceptions. Like none of these are rules. They're just kind of like common tendencies that show the differences between the two types of players. So for instance, like you got Dave Mustaine and Marty Friedman. Well, Dave Mustaine, he played guitar solos in Megadeth as well, but there's no question that like Marty Friedman, he's the lead player in that band, because he's playing more of them. He's playing more of like the cool stylish stuff in that song. Although Mustaine's part in Megadeth was dope too. Like he did all kinds of stylish stuff too. But what I'm trying to say is that there's like a tendency for the lead player to kind of like lean more in that direction on the spectrum in terms of how they're playing the instrument and in terms of like style and so on and so forth. Another example is like Stone Gossard and Mike McCready from Pearl Jam. Stone Gossard is like the rhythm guitarist, and then Mike McCready is the lead player. And you can kind of just see that just by the way the lines that they play, I consider these two players really similar to Guns N' Roses in the sense that, Izzy Stradlin and Slash, because they're kind of playing they kind of do the same thing. Like they play similar riffs, I would say, or rather the foundation of how they're playing is similar. And by that, I mean, like, if you take a look at what I've shown down here, like this is Slash's guitar part, right? So these two riffs right here, this is Mike McCready and this is Izzy's part and this is Slash. And then like these two riffs right here, they look pretty similar, right? However, rather than just doing this, which is what Izzy is doing, like Slash, he does like this descending blues riff, and that's what's different about the lead in the guitar and the rhythm guitarist is that the lead player is going to be playing a lot more like stylized stuff, like guitar solo-esque passages. And all of this that I'm saying, it's not like a rule. Like I wrote here that guitar solos, that's kind of like a fundamental thing that the lead player will do. Well, that's true, but the rhythm guitarist can do solos as well. It's not like a hard rule that's set in stone. And same with the single note passages. Like a rhythm guitarist can do single note passages as well. However, like these are just general tendencies of what a lead player will do. Moving on from that though, and then also like arpeggios. That's another great way to kind of see what the difference is between the two players. Like you'll have the rhythm, especially in metal. Like you'll have the rhythm guitarist. Like say that you're playing like a C major chord like this. The rhythm guitarist is playing that. And then you have the lead over top who's playing like this C major arpeggio. And, that's another thing that you'll see, especially in bands like Protest the Hero. You have, I forget their names, Luke Hoskin and Tim Miller, I think their names are. But yeah, Luke is like the lead player. He's doing like all the crazy arpeggio, like the tap stuff, and then Tim is doing like playing all these like jazzy power chords underneath, and that's kind of their two roles in the band. Although, as I said before, like they can interchangeably switch between what roles they're playing. But there's always just like it's like all this stuff exists on a spectrum, you know what I mean? That's kind of like a universal principle of life, you know what I mean? Like there's no like hard rules with many things. It's just kind of like there's a spectrum, and like certain people lean towards the left and right side. You know what I'm saying? And also like effects. The same thing with effects. Like think of like Kirk Hammett in Metallica. You know, his solos, especially in the later years, like beyond the Black Album. What was that actually? No, it was the Black Album when he really started using the wah wah. Like every solo had wah on it. And it sounded dope. Like I think he's probably like one of the best users of it personally. I think his solos were awesome on that album. But yeah, like of course people like Slash used it too, like on Sweet Child of Mine. And that brings me to the next point. Like the Slash, everybody knows Sweet Child of Mine. You know that iconic lead guitar riff in the beginning. Like that's like I'd say that's kind of like the defining example of what a lead guitar part is. You know what I mean? Like it's like a single note passage. It's super melodic. And it's just like this, it's so iconic and it stands out so much. And then you have like the rhythm playing underneath it. I'd say that's like the intro to Sweet Child of Mine. That's like the fundamental example of what a lead guitar part is. You know what I mean? There is another exception that I failed to mention, which is that like you can have a lead and a rhythm player at once too. Like, think of someone like Hendrix. That's kind of what made Hendrix special, is the fact that Hendrix was kind of combining lead and rhythm at once. Like he was playing all these chords, but he was also doing like these cool stylized passages and stuff, which was kind of unique at the time. Because from what I understand, before Hendrix, there was like a clear delineation between the two types of players. You know, you had your like rhythm and then lead, and then that was kind of it. You know, there was no like combination of the two, and that's kind of what made Hendrix so iconic. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. Hope that kind of explained what a lead guitar player is. Like a lead guitar player, they're essentially like establishing the melody of the song, or they're like stylizing a melody that already exists. They're kind of, whereas the rhythm guitarist, it's like more, they're playing like the rhythmic and structural foundation of the song in which the lead guitar player is playing, you know? Although, as I already said, this kind of exists on a spectrum, you know? It can be a little bit of both. But anyway, I hope that kind of helped illuminate what the lead player does. And, if that helped you, make sure you like and subscribe.